Hey everyone, and welcome to this video on Markdown for GitHub. Markdown is a simple and lightweight way to format text that's readable as plain text but renders beautifully on the web. With Markdown, you can create clear and concise documentation for your GitHub projects and making it easier for you and others to understand your code. Now, when we go into GitHub and create a new repository, there is some extra bit of options with our repository. One of that is add a README file. Now, once we check this on, what actually GitHub does, it creates a file called README, and the extension of this file is .md, which means Markdown. Now, ideally, what actually this Markdown file is, the README file is that once we scroll down after going into the main page of any GitHub repository, we see something called this readme, and then we get a lot of other information about that particular project, what is about, giving like background information, installation processes of that repository as well, if we want to redo their work to even contribute to the open source project and all. And also they will give a lot of other bunch of information for their project so that people understand what are the works that they are doing. Now in this readme file there are so many things that we will see different headlines in terms of the format or structure of their repository. They will add different links, and then different table format, giving maybe software information or the version information as well, and maybe they will redirect you to different other sources from where you can learn more about different other topics, right? They will also add like code or commands that you might want to be using while doing your work, and then probably they will add different images within this readme file as well. And then they might also give you a list of tasks that they feel like the people can contribute in their project, right? So they might create the task list as well. And also if this is a research project or something, they might also give these whole bunch of information how we can cite their work. So all of these can be provided and added in the readme file, and in this video we will look into that how we can reconfigure, restructure our own readme file in our own GitHub repositories. So let's get started. So here in my VS Code IDE, I have created a project called Markdown project, and in this project folder I have created a file called readme.md. By the way, I already have installed the extension called Markdown. So if your IDE does not allow you to write Markdown code, you don't need to really worry about that, because even within this readme.md file or any other Markdown file, you can simply write all the code and then it will eventually convert all those information. However, if you want to see what are the changes that all of these Markdown script is making, you can add these extension called Markdown. You can simply go into the extension and then search for Markdown, and then get one of these installed in your system. Additionally, you can also use Google Colab or Jupyter Notebook, whichever is available more convenient to you. So to make it easier for this video demonstration, instead of using this VS Code, what I will do is I will use Google Colab, which will automatically be transforming all those Markdown code to the type of format that it will generate from that Markdowns. Okay, so if you are familiar with Google Colab, I believe you know the interface over here, but we have different cells over here, right? So if we actually go above or below to this cell, we see two options. One is code, one is text. Now in order to add this Markdown information, we can actually click on text, which will bring this prompt where we can type all this Markdown code. So let's get started with headings. So heading helps structuring our content and make it easy to scan through. So how we actually demonstrate heading is using the number of hash symbol to define the heading level. So there are like 6 different heading level, and the way we make a heading is we press the hash and then type the heading information. So we can do the heading like this. Now if we want to have like subheadings, we can change the level of headings as well. So we, as I said, that we have 6 different level of headings. So if we give double hash and then type, give a space and then type some of the information, you can see that now the font size of heading 2 is smaller than heading 1. So in this manner we can actually add up until 6 hash, that means heading 6. So you will see that heading 6 is basically the smallest font in terms of the heading sizes. So in this way we can use the hash to add the headings in our repository. Okay, so there is one more thing that I would like to clarify, is that without this heading you can simply type any sort of text. So let's say welcome to university assistant. So this is just a plain text without any sort of editing or anything, right? So you can see that this is how actually it looks when we write any plain sentences. Now we can also make changes, make different sort of formatting for our regular sentences wherever we have to let's say highlight something or make something to show the strength or emphasize some part of a sentence. So let's have a look at how we can make a word or a couple of words as bold. So in Markdown, the way actually we do that is using the asterisk. So we can use double asterisk to start with, and then double asterisk to close the word that we want to make bold. So as you can see that I have added this double asterisk before and after the assistant word, and it has turned into bold. Now I can actually use not just asterisk, but I can also use underscore. So using double underscore would do the same thing for us. So if I use double asterisk instead of double star, it also makes it bold. Now either of it can be used, but definitely you should not mix all of it. So you should not mix asterisk on one side and then underscore on the other side. This is not a good practice. Okay, next we will have a look to italic, how we can make a text italic format of it. So for that we need to use only one asterisk or only one underscore. So as you can see that now this italic word is in the format of italic. Now you might be wondering that why all of these are getting into one single line and how we can make it into a different line. Now in Markdown, the good practice is that if you give a return, or if you give one enter space in between two different paragraphs or two different lines, then it will come into a new line. So for new line, always give one enter space between two different sentences where you want to give a space in between a paragraph or two, in between two paragraphs. Now also maybe in your repository you want to like cancel something. Let's say that you had 3 different tasks that you wanted people to do, right? But now one of them has been completed and you don't want it to be done by the people, but you do want it to be listed as a task list in the repositories. So you can use strike through over over there to show that okay, this is not necessary anymore, or any other reasoning that is necessary for the project. So in order to use strike through, you need to use the tilde sign. So using double tilde sign, you can actually use the strikes through. So if we say this is strike through. So as you can see that now there is a cross line coming on the sentence. Okay, next we will have a look to block quotes. Block quotes are used to set off quotations or excerpts from other sources. So to write block quotes, simply prefix the text with a greater than symbol. So using the greater sign, we can say this is block quotes. This is how actually it looks like when we add a block quotes. Now maybe we want these block quotes to be expanded but in a new paragraph. So what we can actually do is we can add another greater than sign, but in this line we don't want to type anything, and then maybe then in the new line we can say this is also part of the same code. So in this way you can see that it's within the same block codes. Okay, next we will have a look to lists. So lists are great for presenting ordered or unordered information. The way we use list is using asterisk, pluses or hyphens for unordered list and number to list the numerals. So if we start with maybe let's say ordered list, and over here in order to use the unordered list we can start with asterisk, and then let's say this is our feature 1, and then this is feature 2, this is feature 3. As you can see that even though there is no gap between the word and the asterisk, the editor still was able to identify and follow the similar structure. But it's not a good practice to not giving the space, so we always should give at least one space of space in between the asterisk and the word. And if we want to create subcategories, we can use a tab space or force space and then use the asterisk and then add the information. Let's say this is feature 3.1. So the editor will automatically convert all those information as needed. So we can also add let's say unordered list with plus. And now instead of using asterisk we can also use plus sign to make this unordered list. Let's say this is list 1 and this is list 2 and so on. And also we would have also used dash, so dash could have done the same. So dash list 3 dash list 4. Now it is recommended that you don't mix all of these all together like I have done over here. So if you are using asterisk, you use only asterisk. If you are using plus, you only use plus. Do not mix the information as it does not look good. Okay, so then we will have a look to the ordered list. So in ordered list we simply use the numbering. So using the numbering it will create the ordered list, so we can use simply the numbering to do that. If we give full space and then 2 feature 1.2 feature 2 and so on. So in this way we can create unordered list, we can create ordered list, and then create sub categories of those lists as well. Okay, now let's have a look to code blocks. Now to write code blocks in general we use 4 spaces or 1 tab, and if we are adding a code blocks under a list then the indentation has to be double, so that means 8 spaces or 2 tabs. Now let's write something. So we will say we are writing code blocks normally. So I'm adding an enter in order to create the code in a new line, and then adding 4 space. And over here I can write some code. So as you can see, that is creating this section, which is a block of codes. Now if we are creating some sort of instruction, let's say we are suggesting that someone has to create a file first. That means we are basically making a list of instructions. So they have to create a file, and then they have to add a bunch of code in their in that particular file. So we have to double the spaces. So that means 8 space or 2 tabs. So then we can add the bit of information. Okay, I think I don't have that space, so 8 space. So as you can see, that if the space is not given properly, then you won't be able to see that particular information. So ensure that you follow it properly. Additionally, what we can do in order to add our code is using the backticks. Now what we can do to add a code snippet or something, we can wrap our code with 3 backticks on a new line, or indent the code with 4 spaces, as we have seen. So to me, the easiest way is using the backticks and then add the code that I want to add. So let's say HTML close, and so on, and then again close it with 3 backticks. So it will add all of those in a block of code, or code snippets. So this is how we can add code within the readme file. While writing the readme file, sometimes we might want to make some sections by giving a horizontal line in between 2 sections, right? So now how we can create this horizontal line? So creating this horizontal line basically requires 3 asterisk or 3 dash or underscores on a line by themselves without adding any sort of information. In the text formatting, we have seen that we can use double quote to make bold, and then double underscore to make it bold as well, right? But if we use triple asterisk or triple dash, it actually creates this horizontal line, and then it basically means that we can create different sections within the repositories, like you will sometimes see in other people's repository. They will add some horizontal line like this. So now you'll be able to create one for yourself as well, and also you will be able to use underscores for couple of times, and then you will see that that will also create horizontal line. Okay, now I reckon the most important one is links. So let's have a look to how we can add a link in the repository. Now if we want to add a quick URL or our email as a link, we can simply use the arrow sign to add them as a URL. We might have to give the full URL. Yes, so that's why we were not able to see it. So we can do something like this. So using these angle brackets, we can do that, or something like I don't know, someone at yahoo.com. So this will quickly make all of these as if it's like a URL or email. So if we click, it will redirect us to that source. Now in general, the way we write a link is we will enclose the link text in a bracket, for example google.com, and then follow it immediately with the URL in parentheses. So we will do something like this. We will start with this third bracket. We will say google.com, and then immediately we will start with parentheses, and in the parentheses we will give the URL. So this means that when someone will click on google.com, it will redirect or take that person to this particular link. This is how we add a link. Now alongside the link, we can always type down the information that click this to visit Google, and then add is basically just adding some other information alongside the URL. So in this way we can structure the URL. We can also format these to make it bold, to make it italic, and even add code as well, however we need. Okay, now let's have a look to images, how we can add images in a markdown file. Okay, so to add the image is pretty straightforward, and similar to links as well. So remember, for the link we added, the information that we want to show in the paragraph or in the repositories, and then within this third bracket, and then added the URL within the parentheses, right? And for images we do something like that, but alongside we will also add this exclamatory sign. So we will add these alternative text that people will see if they cannot see the image, and we add that alternative text inside this third bracket. So let's say this is GitHub, and then inside this parenthesis we will give the link of that image. Now it can be an image taken from online, which I have copied just from Google, and maybe for your case you can give the link of the file path wherever this image is. So let's say this is GitHub, and then the source could be, if it's in your project folder, it might be somewhere under I don't know, maybe assets, and then under assets you have this folder called images, and there you have this GitHub .jpeg image. So in this way you will be giving the URL. So wherever this image belongs, you can give the full URL of that within this parentheses, and that will bring up that image for you. So as you can see that this image that I have just taken, the URL is not correct, and that's why I see only the alternative text, this GitHub, instead of the whole image. So let me actually find out an image file, and then I will add that full path over here. Okay, so now that you can see that I've just copied one of the URL of an image and just added that bit. So now I can see that image being displayed over here, and this is how we add an image. Okay, so now let's have a look to tables. So to add a table, we need to use 3 or more hyphen to create each columns of columns header, and use the pipe sign to separate each column. So let me actually finish the syntax first, and then we can talk about it. So I'm using the pipe, and then inside the pipe I'm adding the information. So this would be our heading, and then pipe, this is name, and then maybe age, and that would be all. We will have 3 columns. Now we will do another one, and then in order to add the line in between, we'll add some of these, dash, and then use the pipe again, and then dash again, and dash again. And for the row, we will simply add the pipe, and let's say the information will be heading 1, and then sum of the space, and then add the pipe again. Name would be John, age is 34, and then close it with the pipe as well. So in this way we can add as many information as needed. So this is basically how we create tables. Now there are different other formatting of the information within the table as well, but I'm not going into that detail in this video. Okay, so finally we will have a look to task list. Now task list, which also referred as checklist or to-do list, allows us to create a list of items with checkboxes. Now in Markdown, in order to create a task list, we need to add a dash. So we need to add a dash, and then with a space we will add this third bracket, and inside this third bracket we need to ensure that we give at least one space of space, and then we will add the information that we need to add, for example task 1. And then if we want to show that some of the task has been completed, for example this one, we can use this X in between of this third bracket, and we can show that as completed. So as you can see on the right hand side over here is that task 2 is shown as if it's completed or done, and then task 1. So in this way we can add as many information as needed. So these are just some of the basic Markdown elements that we can use on GitHub. With a little practice, you will be able to create clear and informative readmes and other documentation for your projects in no time. So thanks for watching, and I hope this video was useful for you. If so, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.